Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children leaders, welcome to Tatami Talk. My name is Juan. This is my Chikumi partner, Anthony. This is a judo podcast for judo players by two judo players. So, Anthony, how you been? Haven't seen you in about a week or so. I'm going to ask you every time. I care about you. All right?
I'm good. I've been jumping rope now on my knee. So
I see you got that fancy massage thing, though. I saw that.
Oh, the massage gun. I've been trying to avoid getting that massage gun thing.
Why? It's like the hip new thing. Everybody has one now. I don't have one yet.
I think it started with the BJJ circle, right? Because I started seeing people bringing that massage gun into my jiu-jitsu class.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I'm like, wow, that thing's like $400 or $500. Like,
holy crap.
Yeah, I'm like, holy crap. It's gotta be one of those other fads, like what is those things called? Acai bowls.
Okay, yeah.
Acai bowls and CBD. Like,
hey,
I mean,
CBD is not a fad. If there's any CBD out there that want to sponsor us, we're very similar to BJJ. We're judo. You can sponsor a CBD cream. Anthony loves CBD cream.
I use the CBD cream on my knee and it helps a lot. But yeah, some people make it sound like it cures cancer and all that stuff. But anyway, I try to avoid it. I thought it was overpriced, and my surgeon actually was like, "Hey, I noticed your hamstrings are super tight all the time because I'm doing physical therapy every day."
Yeah.
And he's like, you should get this what do you call it? A Thunderbolt? He used the brand name. I forgot what it was called, but basically a massage gun. And I'm like, no, like, did it actually work that well? He's like, yeah, it's actually pretty good. So I went back and I'm like, damn, this even this Thunder whatever thing was not the Theragun. The Theragun was like the original one that's like $400 or $500. But this Thunder whatever thing was like 200 something. I'm not paying $200 for that. But I looked up. I went on the BJJ subreddit and looked up what people said, and they're like, "Oh, I bought this brand is like some off-brand, and people can't even tell the difference between that and the Thunder thing." So I bought it. It was like $80 with shipping.
Okay, all right, $80. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it works pretty well. I've been using it on my neck and shoulders and stuff too. So, yeah, I definitely wouldn't spend $400 on that. Like, if I spent $400 on that, I would have been pissed. I would have been.
Well, the thing is, like, I've seen stuff like that before. Like, I go to Asian grocery stores and Korean grocery stores, and they have that in the massage section. Very similar products to that. I'm like, so what's the difference? That this is just a jackhammer or what?
Yeah, it can get pretty intense. So, you remember Johnny? He actually rigged up his own with a jigsaw.
Oh my god! I hope he took the saw out.
there is actually, you can actually rig one yourself up for like around $30 if you go to Home Depot and get like a jigsaw or not a drill. I can't remember what it was, like power tools basically, right?
Yeah, like a
saw. But the thing is, it doesn't have as much of a fine adjustment to the power, and it can get pretty intense. Like certain spots you don't want it to go like full speed.
Oh yeah,
but also it's loud as fuck. Like. So
Dude,
this thing
have
is
to
pretty
go
quiet.
outside. You have to go outside in the garage to use it.
Yeah. So this thing is not that loud, and you get to adjust it. So yeah, I think it was worth it. If you get sore, or I was talking to my physical therapist too. I was like, hey, what do you think? The surgeon said I should get this thing, and she's like, I work with a lot of what do you call it? College baseball players, pitchers. And they said like everyone in the locker room has one in their bag. So
okay,
yeah,
it's a new hip thing. It's gonna be like the rolling pins everyone uses now.
I have one right here. I've been using it right here.
Yeah, see, everybody using those things now too. Gotta roll out your hammies.
Yeah, I have to roll out behind my knee because that's where it's been swelling up after I work out. Like,
you gotta break up the scar tissue.
Yeah, I did yoga this morning and now it's swollen. So there was this YouTube video. It's like 3 to 6 month post-op ACL yoga, whatever, right? So I was like, oh, that sounds just like I didn't tear my ACL, but it's like another ligament. So I started doing it, and she has me like kneeling on the floor and doing all this stuff, and I'm like, I can't do that right now. So I gave up after like 10 minutes, but still, my knee was like pretty sore from that. So
yeah. It was funny when I hurt my neck, like almost 2-3 years ago, when I hurt my I messed up my neck really bad. Actually, yoga is the thing that helped me out with my neck exercise and stretching out and stuff. Yoga was great for me. So
Yeah, I would definitely, if it wasn't for COVID, I would definitely go to a yoga place right now and be like, hey, I got knee injury, like I want to stretch out more and stuff. So yeah, but can't do that now. So I'll just have to
No.
stick with you, Sensei YouTube,
Hey, that's
or
what they're there for.
Yogi Master YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you can do it on YouTube. You look up stuff on Amazon. I think it may have some stuff on Netflix, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have all kinds of things.
So
let's get just a little bit of judo news. All right. So as some people may know or may not know, as soon as we put up our last video, like that night, I got a notification from USA Judo. You probably, if you're a USA Judo member, you probably got it also, that the IGF canceled the World Championships in Tokyo. And I didn't read super into it, but I was like, of course it did. Of course it did. Everything's getting canceled. You know, everything. They post something one day, tomorrow it's canceled. You're making plans and now you don't know. So I got the email from there is that the World Championships is being canceled. And the very interesting in November, well, supposed to be November, USA Nationals / President's Cup is canceled as well till further notice, till next year.
I think they actually canceled it, but then they realized they worded it really poorly, so people thought it was postponed.
Yeah, they put it. It's like one of those things where like to be determined or may change date, whatever. And then
so they came back down. They came back out and was like, just to clarify, we canceled it, not postponed. So
well, they put that giant picture out there that has a giant canceled on there. So I was like, I don't think it's happening after all.
They're not the best. Whoever they have doing the social media, I'm sorry, but you probably should do something else.
Well, it's really tough because, you know, you're trying making these plans to get your members and get your people ready to go compete because they need points. They want to see how they can do, just want to test themselves. You know, some people are just itching to do some judo, you know? So when I heard about the President's Cup first getting canceled, I was like, all right, so President's Cup's getting canceled. The first tournament I know that was going to happen next year was going to be the rescheduled or the 2021 nationals for adults, regular nationals in Reno. So I started looking up and I couldn't find anything on it. I couldn't see if it was canceled. I couldn't find that it got rescheduled. Did you hear anything about it, Anthony? Because I couldn't.
No, I didn't
was
hear
looking
anything.
for it.
I mean,
yeah. So
they were streaming the nationals. I didn't hear about it. Like sometimes they post it on Twitter, sometimes they don't. But
yeah,
honestly, I've been saying it for a long time. They really need to have judo has a marketing problem, and they have to up their marketing game in terms of social media and everything. It's just terrible. They redid their website, and I hate it. By the way, like USA Judo has a new website, and I freaking hate it. And I mean, I work in that field as a job, and it's just some of the worst design choices ever. Not very user intuitive.
So USA Judo, if you're hiring or all, he's looking, he'll a little side job.
Hey, I'll consult for a fee, but
all right. But yeah, so along to USA Judo itself. So USA Judo canceled the President's / Junior Nationals tournament, weird thing, whatever they're going to do, that weird hybrid tournament. They canceled that. I could not find nothing about the regular nationals for 2021 that's supposed to be held in Reno. So I don't know if it's canceled or it's being rescheduled or they just took it down for now. I couldn't find it. Maybe someone else can, because it is hard to find stuff on the website sometimes. Other judo news of when it comes to nationals also is that I was looking at the other federations, because in United States we have USA Judo, USJA, and USJF. USJA and USJF holds the winter nationals here in Southern California always. And I thought it was interesting because I was checking the website. They still say on there tentatively, so meaning that it may still happen. I don't think it is.
I don't think it's.
Yeah, I've talked to other senseis, and I think they're just canceling it. They've talked about moving it to Nevada. They're going to move to Las Vegas. I think they talked about it, and the price is just gonna be too expensive to move it all out there. They talk about bringing it out here
and do it in the Mojave Desert,
just outside in the heat. You don't know. What's that giant solar panel place you drive by when you go to Vegas? Have it right there. You know, it definitely has a kill all the viruses. Yeah.
I mean, kind of do what UFC is doing with their Fight Island thing.
Oh my God. So everybody like one weight class each day. It's be like a 2-week tournament.
But the French the French senior nationals happened. I think Teddy Raniere lost, by the way. I saw it posted on Reddit, and I think right now the senior European Cup in Dubrovnik is happening.
Yeah, I saw that. That was supposed to happen today, this weekend. It was still scheduled, but they only had like maybe 200 members I saw listed, like competing.
Yeah,
200 people competing or something. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on all this stuff, guys. You go look up yourself or give your information out there. So they're still having some tournaments in Europe right now. They're still scheduled to happen, but the big one that comes out with the IGF with all the adults and stuff is the World Championships. So the Olympics got canceled, got moved to next year, and so they're still going to have the World Championships 2 years in a row, I guess, in Tokyo again. And like I said, was it 2 weeks ago or whatnot? They announced that Tokyo's, I don't know, was it the governor or the
new prime minister?
New prime minister. Well, I got canceled actually before the new prime minister. That's another thing. International news. Japan has a new prime minister. The last prime minister was voted out, and he voted in.
No, he wasn't voted out. He resigned because of health.
Yes.
He was vomiting blood, basically.
No, it was okay. You know, he had some bad Kool-Aid. Okay. But yeah, so since he got sick, he resigned. His spot got taken over. But before he resigned, the IGF canceled the tournament out there because Japan said they could not handle within 3 months' notice having all these judo players come in. And we brought up a lot of things. People was like, if you can't handle like 500 judo players, I don't know how many compete, 500-600 judo players in 3 months, how are you going to handle a couple million people from around the world coming to do the
I don't
Olympics?
know how they're going to do Olympics. Yeah, I don't see it happening personally.
And that's a little less than a year from now, how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
But after that happened, they voted a new prime minister, and new prime ministers now easing restrictions to allow foreigners now to come to Japan to visit because they need that, foreign investment.
Yeah, they're Japanese government's paying people to travel, I think. I saw the headline. I didn't read the article, but I don't know if they're paying foreigners or whether they're paying people within Japan to travel within Japan. So.
I think it's a thing of like they're supplementing hotels and stuff to discount rates.
Yeah.
But here's the thing one of the things that I saw, it wasn't to go to Tokyo, it wasn't to go to Osaka. It was like for more rural areas. Like
I would do that.
I think the most biggest place was like to go to not Hokkaido. It was Nagoya, I think maybe, or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I wouldn't mind going to Nagoya. I'd do some judo out there. It's
great.
Beautiful out there.
Yeah, I would go there. There's they are known for their nabe, like their hot pot, the Nagoya style. Yeah, I would totally do it. But
that's a trip to go next year or this year, I guess. Yeah. After the new year.
Yep. Best time to go.
Cheap flights.
Hopefully everything calms down then, but
yeah. So people stay, you guys stay in tune. You guys see what's going on. Check the Reddits, check all the websites, check the Instagrams, check everything to see what's happening. Because what I tell you right now, what me and Anthony talk about right now, in a few hours from now, might be wrong again.
It happened the last 2 episodes. You said something, and then like the day after, it's like canceled. Reschedule.
Yeah, because like we'll do the podcast, and then like it takes like a little time to edit. A couple of days sometimes. Put it out there. It's like, oh, already wrong. We should put a disclaimer in the front. This has already changed.
Man.
All right. Okay. So that's a little bit of judo news right now. All right. No tournaments happening for the most part. Please stay tuned. Let's see what happens. So a couple episodes ago, me and Anthony talked about this new thing that USA Judo was doing. What is it called? The AJDM.
American Judo Development Model.
All right. And well, go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
Oh, it's by the 3 judo federations that you were mentioning. So
yeah. So after reviewing it, we looked at the paperwork, what they released already and stuff, and I read it, he read it, and I thought that I came to the conclusion that if you were a brand new black belt going to open up your own gym, or maybe you're a brown belt that's going to become an assistant instructor or want to become a main instructor, I think it's really good to have something to look at. I think this is nice. But if you're already a seasoned black belt, a seasoned instructor, you've been doing this for a while, this is very similar and a lot of the same stuff you're going to hear at the Winter Nationals coaches tournaments, Summer Nationals coaches tournaments, or the USA Judo coaches tournament, or any just coaches class you're going to go to. You're going to hear a lot of the same stuff over and over again. I think it's nice that they put a little packet together for you to look at, but it's nothing new, in my opinion. unless you're a brand new, unless you're like a brand new black belt and you move to a rural area and you want to open up your own gym.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
how I
great thing to
feel.
look at, you know, like
I've never
places that need-
taken. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead. Were you?
No, I'm saying if you move to a place that needs judo and you're like, you want to know what? I want to start a gym, but I don't know how. You know, I'm a high ranking
Mhm.
brown belt, or I just have my black belt, or maybe got my second degree black belt, and I want to continue doing judo, but I don't know how to coach. This is something very good to look at, and a very interesting thing that you don't have to go to a class. Like you don't have to go travel somewhere. You can do the class online. I think Anthony, you said you did in like 45 minutes. You did your lunch break.
No, it took like an hour.
Oh, an hour. Oh,
yeah.
sorry, 15 minutes more. All right.
Yeah, it took it like an hour. Yeah, I took it, but it's exactly what you said, right? If you don't know much about judo or you're not like a seasoned instructor, I think it's a great thing because it talks a lot about well, not a lot, but it goes over the basics of coaching and sports psychology and different learning, different ways people learn. But I had a little bit of issue with how they were instructing that because if you actually read I read a lot of research papers on coaching and just for fun. I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but there's conflicting studies about the whole theory behind visual versus audio versus like learning by doing. Like they kind of tell you that some people are like, oh, I'm a visual learner, so I need to like see everything done or something, right? But in reality, there's really little evidence that people are like that. And for the little bit of evidence that there is, I think people are a combination. So in the end, you're going to have to teach using a combination of all three anyway. You're not
mostly. Well, I don't know how you could do judo just being audio. Just an audio judo. Here's an audio judo book. So you step in here, cross your feet.
Yeah, that's the extreme,
your leg
extreme
up.
case. Yeah, so they talk about stuff like that and nutrition, safety, how to not get sued. Like basically don't be in the same room with a kid make sure there's another adult in the room, or how don't be inappropriate in a certain sense. So stuff like that, which I think if you need to take a course on it to to know that, I feel like you have other issues. But regardless, I wouldn't pay $30 for it. Like to me, this is my personal opinion, they marketed it as how to be a good coach kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think I would have gotten more out of it if I bought like a book on coaching soccer or basketball or something. I think I would have gotten more out of it.
Now, with the class you took, like you're saying how visual and stuff, is there a lot of video? Is it a lot of video presentations and showing it, or is it a lot of like read this bullet point, read that bullet point?
So it's basically imagine like a PowerPoint slide animated with a guy reading it to you. That's
okay. So it's a PowerPoint
that's how
slide.
it was.
So, okay.
That's kind of what it was like. And the funny thing is, I know I might be wrong, but it seems like they took a very general video that's used for other sports. And then the beginning segment and the end segment, they had a guy put on a USA Judo jacket and
not even a judo gi, he put on a jacket.
Yeah, like the ones you see that they sell for at the USA Nationals. The sports jacket, the one with the Mizuno, the red and blue one.
Yeah.
You know that if any of you take this course, you notice that the guy who's talking wears that jacket in the beginning and the end of the video, and in the middle he's wearing a white like polo shirt, if I remember. So I don't know.
I know when you told me this, it reminded me of a scene of so if you ever watch Spider-Man, I believe it's Spider-Man Homecoming, and he's at the gym and their coach is showing him a video of Captain America being about like why fitness is so good and why fitness works. So Captain America, so he's watching his monitor and Captain America goes, my good friend, your coach faces this way, but the guy's standing on this side of the TV. So my good friend, blah, 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 insert name.
Yeah. So I also noticed it because in the beginning and the end of the video, they're like, hey, welcome to taking this American Judo Development Model by the USA Judo and USJF and all that stuff. But in the middle, they never, ever mentioned the word judoka or judo or anything. It's very general terms. Now I might be wrong because I think the white polo shirt that he wore was a Mizuno polo shirt, which would make sense for other sports. So maybe they recorded this in preparation of reusing that footage for other sports. Like maybe they made it meant for judo, but then they might reuse it for something else.
Well, Mizuno makes like volleyball stuff, track stuff.
Yep.
So that they make swimming stuff too, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, to us, we hear Mizuno, we totally think judo gis. That's our first thing. Yeah, I remember I saw a guy one time at work on set. He had a Mizuno backpack. I was like, "Hey, man, you do judo?" And he's like, "No, I do. I rent this track." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, my bad."
Yeah, so I don't know, like that. It's basically that. I feel like you could have taken that course for any sports. It's not very judo specific.
Yeah,
but they said there's supposed to be in-person class that comes with this one in the future. So maybe this is just an intro.
Okay.
And then that in-person class might be more mat work related and judo specific stuff. So if it's going into how to teach break falls to kids properly or how to handle kids, because I think a lot of people I've read on Reddit believe that the way that we teach judo to adults is like very similar to how we teach it to kids, and it should be like totally separate. But yeah, so if it gets into that kind of stuff, then I can see more value in that $30. But yeah, I feel like I took a hit for the team just to take it, just so I can say I took it and I can say can say something,
give your opinion on it.
Yeah.
So would you say, because when we looked at the PDF stuff, the files, the actual reading, they had a lot of individual things for judo, like you should train this many times a day, you should add this workout right here, you should do this type of rest, and like when you teach a youth class, this much should be of on the mat, this much should be games. So would you say the paperwork is more geared towards judo?
Yeah, a lot more. But that video was not geared towards.
The video was nothing like that.
Yeah, nothing like that. They do make references to it, like they talk about how when you teach kids, you gotta like play games, and like their attention span is like not as long as, like, they talk about stuff like that basically. But I mean, I knew that before. Like you just kind of know, people tell you that, and senseis tell you that, and you kind of just know when you teach kids, like, why can't they pay attention for more than 10 minutes, you know? So
you got to make a game of it when you teach youth. You got to make a game of it. It's funny because I just re-upped my safe sport and my concussion thing. I just did that video like maybe a week or two ago also. As now I was noticing that the safe sport this year, I don't know if it was last year's stream I didn't notice, but this year's was a lot more reading this year. Was a lot of like just watching the video, read everything. I didn't have a lot of video actually this year. It was just like read. They
made me make an account too, which I didn't like.
Yeah, that was new then. That wasn't something I forgot last year then. That was new. Okay. So yeah, when I taken the safe sport this year, it was just a lot of reading. And for me, like when I read stuff, I like to go over 2 or 3 times and make sure I understand it, make sure I get it. Or if I watch a video, I feel that I learn it faster because it's being told to me directly. If I read it, you might change a word in your head and you read something really quickly. Yeah. So when I did that, there was just a lot of reading. I was like, man, I hope I'm getting everything right, which I passed the class, so I got that good, But I thought the CDC was a much better one for the concussions because they had a lot of videos showing what can go on, showing how you can get hurt, showing what to do and stuff. I like that one a lot better, but that's me personally. And even though those also are not geared towards judo, they did talk a little bit about judo, since it was more of a rounded thing of all the sports that USA Judo does, all the Olympic sports pretty much. But they talk a little bit about judo, which I did like. I think that steers more about basketball, I think, but they did talk a little bit about throwing and kids getting hurt falling that way. So. Yeah.
So the fact that I took them 2 years to come up with that had me a little worried. Like, I don't know, but.
Well, it's one of those things where everybody has to sign off on it. Everybody has to look at it and sign off on it. And I remember you and another person both told me that's very similar to what they have in Canada and France already. Like it's almost like what they took from them.
Yeah, I sent you some of the documents.
No, you sent it to me. So I looked at it like, oh, it is very similar. Like, if you didn't tell me that, I wouldn't know, because I'm not looking at the French or Canadian stuff,
I'm always looking at it, and one thing I can't find is the Japanese, what they do. Everything they do is secret.
It's a secret. They don't want no one to know. All right.
Well, that's the thing. Like when we went to Japan to practice, and they're like, yeah, we don't really take pictures in the dojo. It's kind of frowned upon. We don't allow videos. I'm like, okay, that totally makes sense. So
yeah. Well, that's how, like, for our dojo, Sensei Philippe doesn't like people taking videos in class, doesn't like people taking pictures in class, because he has that competition mentality where he doesn't want other dojos or other competitors that see so and so's working on their uchimata a lot. Okay, so they're gonna try to do the uchimata.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, I noticed that they're a Haraigoshi guy now, so if I ever see him in a tournament, I'm gonna go Haraigoshi. He's very much like that, and I get it, you know. But my thing is, I get it, the competition why, but my thing is like, I don't like people's invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
Because I'll see people set up a secret cam, not a secret cam, but they'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna put my camera right here, my water bottle. It's like, I can see you're recording right now. Okay.
Yeah.
When you're at the dojo, you know, people feel comfortable. People feel like it's their second home. They may do something. They may say something. They may pick their butt or pick their nose.
Yeah.
Now it's on camera and you might go post a thing, oh, whatever. And you might give them a bad name or a bad look now.
Yeah. So I try to do it when everyone's like after class or open mat time when there's less people. And then I ask my partner, hey, you mind if I record this? Because I want to like work on my uchimata and see what like I did wrong. And so, yeah, I understand what you mean. But at the same time, I don't think Japan has a judo advertising problem. And I mean, if you look at BJJ, how they market themselves, like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, like all that stuff is a huge part of it is people going, hey, look, I'm like doing something with my life and I'm getting fit and healthy and training jiu-jitsu and stuff. So I feel like judo is missing out a lot on that kind of stuff. So
I now we're going off topic talking about something else, but no, I feel you on that. We always talk about how judo needs to advertise more. And back when the dojo was open, I used to put videos, not videos, but I put up photos at least a couple times a week of showing us what we're doing. Like, hey, look, it's a full class. We're doing this today, or we're doing this type of workout. Just trying to get people out there to see what we're doing, see what judo is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we started doing judo at the park, and we had a few people come by and ask us about it. So I've always been saying we should do like once a month at the park or at the beach or something, right?
It's funny you bring that up because now Sensei Gary, that's one of the head instructors of our dojo, the headmaster and stuff, and Sensei Philippe are both now coming around to that because they start talking about that. I think it was this week or last week. They both said, you know, maybe we should start doing a class once a week, or not once a week, but like once a month in the park. We do judo in the park. We have a barbecue or a picnic or something. We should do that. And I was like, didn't Anthony bring this up before? I could have swore Anthony said this and it was like, oh no, that's dumb. That's stupid. That's a terrible idea. Oh, I don't like it. Now during the pandemic time, that's like, you know, it's nice, fresh air. Well, LA air with all the fires.
When I was living in Austin, the 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu there, they would like go in the lawn in front of the state capitol and do jiu-jitsu there.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah.
Oh no, we can do that here. I go in front of well, the city hall. No, there's no grass in front of city hall, but there is a park next door.
Do it in Griffith Park.
Go to Griffith. You could actually do it totally in Griffith Park.
Do it at the Hollywood sign. We can hike up there.
Hike. There's a fence around there. I do not recommend
judo. Hollywood judo doing.
Hey, look at us.
Judo and Hollywood sign. That's totally the right thing to do.
All right, let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
But going back on topic now to the classes that we talked about, concussion, safe sport and stuff. Like I said, from what you told me, I think it's not fleshed out yet. Like if they're getting a video that's a generic video of someone talking about broad things, it's not meant for judo. And I feel bad that you wasted your money on it, but you said you bite the bullet to help us out, and I appreciate it. But yeah, once you get in the nitty gritty of actually teaching and talking about judo, then it becomes something.
Hey, I didn't say it was a waste of money. Like,
did I say it's a waste of money?
I didn't emails.
No, I didn't say the waste of money.
I'm gonna start getting random Shidos in my judo tournaments.
You don't compete anyways. I compete. I'm gonna get on the mat, bow, wrong bow, Shido. What?
Okay,
on my stuff over here.
Go ahead.
But in my opinion, it sounds to me like if you download the PDF, read that, you actually get more than taking the class.
Yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is not a waste of money. Honestly, it's not a waste of money. Seriously, though. I think they need to set the expectations better, like market it and saying this is what you're getting out of it. And by the end of the course, I should know what I'm getting out of the course going into it. And then coming back out, I should be like, okay, so I did get what I expected. Versus right now, that thing you were talking about the framework, the overview that they listed. By the way, I asked Dave Roman from the other podcast, I asked him like, hey, have you guys like went to that meeting, because I overslept that day. I didn't attend the AJDM announcement meeting. And he's like, yeah, like they were reluctant to share the outline at first until a bunch of people started asking, like, we don't know what we're paying for, so why would you not release one? And then they're finally like, oh, okay, fine, we'll release an outline. So we wouldn't have gotten that if people didn't ask for it. But now I feel like that outline doesn't even match
sync up and match.
Yeah, I mean, given they could go over that in the second class, like I mentioned, but as of right now, I feel like what I got out of it was totally different from what they advertised. So, which isn't useless. Yeah,
it sounds like that too. Like if the PDF, all the paperwork, the framework stuff, all this stuff you read, it looks great. It sounds pretty good in my opinion too. But again, like I said, stuff that you should know already if you're a seasoned coach. And if you're telling me that that's not what you're going to get when you pay your $30 to go to this class and watch the video for an hour or whatnot, how long is it going to take you? And here's another thing. Once you watch the video, is it unlimited times or is it a one-time viewing?
Oh, I can go back and watch it again right now.
Okay, so you can at least watch it unlimited time. So it's not that bad, I guess.
Yeah.
But they're not even talking about judo. They're not talking about, it's a broad video talking about sports in general. It's apples and oranges you're giving me here.
So
you know?
Again, it's about expectations, I think. So if they advertised it properly and I read it, I would have been like, okay, this is not for me. I don't need to know that stuff, right? But maybe someone, like you said, a brown belt who's which on Reddit someone was asking, saying like, hey, I live in a rural place and I want to start my own club here to spread judo, and he has like no resources and no help, and he doesn't know where the closest black belt is that can help him do promotions or help him start a club. So if maybe this is for him, right? So but if he looks at it, he'll be like, okay, this is way out of my league, I'm not going to take that course because I don't know any of this crap. So maybe it's for him. So I feel like advertising it properly is important. And with that said, I think the money that we pay for the membership fees, that's what it should be going towards, which is training new coaches, helping them set up new dojos and clubs, giving the resources, making a website, advertising, marketing, all that stuff. That's what our membership should go towards, not, for a better word, not to go towards half-ass funding athletes. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, I wish they funded. That's a whole different subject and thing that I'm willing to get into. I don't care. I'll get into and stuff. I think the USA Judo athletes are willfully underfunded and they're unsupported the right way. You know, from what I heard from interviews from past members and stuff, and their podcasts or just interviews online, I think they're underfunded. I think that they need better help and better structure personally. And I don't mind my money going to them. What I do mind is, I hate talking about this story, but there was a story of there was a guy that was a member of our judo club a long time ago, like this a while ago, a long time ago. And I don't know if he's just talking out of his ass. He could have been talking out of his ass. He could have been true. But what he said is that they were going to send him, because he's a pseudo celebrity, like kind of famous. They're going to send him to the world championships as a USA Judo representative, representing American stuff.
What you're about to say is easily searchable on Google, by the way. So,
is it?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to continue with the story, but
all I'll just say is that they paid for a bunch of his stuff, helped him out, did all the stuff, and then like the next month later, Travis Stevens put out a video about like he can't afford to go to tournaments because he can't afford to just train, to go to Tokyo, to go to Europe, to train, to do all the stuff that he can't afford that, but USA Judo can pay for this guy to go to Europe as a representative of USA Judo, which really pissed me off.
He doesn't even do judo anymore.
Yeah, right? he's one of those. Yeah, he doesn't really do judo anymore, you know. So that stuff makes me mad that we should be supporting our players, supporting the people representing us.
I'm not saying we shouldn't give money to. If we had the money to fully support the players, I feel like that's what we should do. But right now we're half-ass funding some of the athletes. I feel like it's wasting money, basically, in a sense.
Yeah.
Which could be better spent elsewhere. And I think that's thinking in the long term versus thinking in the short term. But so it's what
people want results now. You know, if you buy some crash pads and open up a community center, they see that now. But you got to invest in the players, so in the future, when we have a world champion or someone that's going to the Olympics and has a chance of medaling, you know, you got to think about future investments.
Yeah, that it should be going towards helping people open dojos, advertising, all that stuff. And now it's going towards that. And what else? Hosting tournaments that are honestly not that well attended. Because I mean,
Well, that's another episode we can do about tournaments. And I would love to talk about tournaments too. Like, I don't mind getting heat from people. I don't mind people don't like what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say my opinion, and it might be blunt sometimes. So that might be another future podcast. We just discuss tournaments and just,
yeah,
you know, I competed in wrestling. I competed in Taekwondo. I competed in karate growing up. I competed in judo. And just seeing the way they all are done, wrestling's done really well. You know, judo's done okay, but can use a lot of fixing. BJJ tournaments I've been to see my friends compete ran very well. You know,
yeah, I can go to a BJJ tournament and it's well run, and I don't have to pay a membership fee. Well, unless it's IBJJF tournament, but most BJJ tournaments, I don't have to pay a membership fee for it to run. Like, I get given the tournament's a little more expensive, ranges from $50 to $80, and I mean USA Nationals and all that stuff costs around that anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it's doable. I think the membership fee should be going towards growing judo and not, especially if you think about how many adults actually compete in America, which is not that much. Yeah. So what are all these people paying the membership for if they're not getting anything back? So
because I'm investigating reporting needs to be done here. I need to call what's a local report. I'm not doing So yeah. So that's our take on the guy. I can never remember the name of this damn thing.
AJDM.
AJDM.
We said we were going to keep it short. We said we were going to keep it short, but it's been pretty. We kind of went off on a tangent. So
yeah. So, do you want to talk about another subject? Or do you want to continue on this one?
Yeah, I think we can talk a bit about the other subject. Well, whatever. We'll do a long episode.
I'm sorry, people. It's a marathon episodes again. I apologize for it. We just start talking. So the other thing I was going to get into is something I get from new students, also people that get interested in doing judo, or they just see other combat sports, is of course judo and MMA. Why don't we see a lot of judo and MMA? Why isn't judo shown more in MMA? Why is it not effective? Does it not work? Do you need a gi? And in my opinion is that no, you don't need a gi. I know I'll get in arguments with other black belts and other friends of mine that are judo players, like, oh, you can't do judo without a gi. Judo MMA is so ineffective. No, it's not. Old school, watch Carl Parisian, okay?
Yeah.
Look at Ronda Rousey. Look what Kayla Harris is doing right now, okay? Look what Yoshida did in Japan with a gi and without a gi, okay? You do not need a gi to do judo. You just need to know how to do grips correctly.
See, I think it's, again, there's a marketing problem, right? Because people don't I think I see judo and MMA all the time, but
yeah, I see bad judo. I see some really bad judo and MMA all the time.
So people just don't recognize it as judo. That's the problem. Yeah. Like, oh, it's a hip toss, or it's a leg sweep, you know?
Well, it's like any throw in MMA, that's a hip toss, hip throw, taitoshi, ippozanagi, koshiguruma, or any ashiwaza. Well, you know, ashiwaza is really, but any of the big hip throws will be like, oh, look at judo throw. Oh man, that judo throw. Amazing judo throw. They don't know the names.
But it's like all grappling, like what makes judo different from sambo and BJJ and wrestling, right? It's the rules, the sports. In the end, you're all like, it's all grappling.
Yes.
So in a sense, even if someone was training wrestling and he does like a hip throw, then he's still doing a technique that's like used throughout all types of like grappling, right? So
it's
sense, grappling is judo.
And like, okay, this is a very, very basic thing. Murotogari, okay, double leg. Wrestling has a double leg. It's one of their main moves. Judo has double leg. It's not done a whole lot, but we have a double leg in our style. Sambo has double leg in their style. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu also has double leg. Okay, double leg is found in all these martial arts. You go into koshiguruma, a head throw. It's in all these martial arts also. But when you see there are slight differences about how people do it. Like if I did a head throw in wrestling, it's much more power based.
Yep.
I'm using my hips as much. I'm not.
Those are the slight things that people can't tell. But again, I think the marketing is what people are like when they see it. They're like, oh, that's wrestling. That's Brazilian. Like to see an arm bar, that's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, even though there's arm bars in judo. So it's a marketing problem, I think. Again,
what was it? A couple weeks ago, Daniel Cormier was doing broadcast on a fight. It was a while ago now. Maybe we talked about it before. A guy was trying to do a haraigoshi with an overhook or a wizard, you know?
Yep.
And Daniel Cormier is like, oh, look at that. Because he's a wrestler.
Yeah.
He's going to call it a wizard throw. He's trying to get that wizard throw right there, trying to get that wizard throw. And everybody else is like, Haraigoshi. He's trying to do a terrible Haraigoshi. He's like, grab that other wrist right there and throw him for Haraigoshi and lower that leg a little.
So
but as a wrestler, he sees it like, oh, it's a wizard throw, wizard throw. I'm like, no, it's not.
So you wrestled and you fought in MMA matches, right?
Yeah.
So when in your head when are you like, okay, I'm going to do a judo technique or I'm going to do this wrestling technique? Like, let's say you're doing a hip throw or a double leg. Do you, in your mind, does it go like, I'm about to do a wrestling double leg versus a Morotegari?
Well, in my head, if I'm doing a double leg, I'm doing a wrestling double leg because I know the differences. Like if I do a traditional judo double leg, I'm picking the guy up and tossing him in the air.
Yeah.
In a wrestling double leg, I'm holding the back of the legs. Okay, I'm snaking my hands around, so I'm grabbing the back of the legs right here. I'm picking the guy up, using my head, and flipping over onto the ground, keeping the contact with the legs the entire time. You know, holding him to my body, holding him down. But I don't think like, okay, I'm going to use judo. Oh, I'm going to use a jujitsu now. I'm going to use wrestling now.
Yeah,
oh,
you're incorporating it into your game. So it's
what I do and what I know. I'm just using the best technique to my style to what I can do, you know?
So do you agree when people say, like, back to the original question, like, you don't see judo in MMA? Well, I think we see judo as just that people don't attribute to it, or maybe they learned it through another sport.
Yeah, I think that's how it is exactly. You know, it's like Khabib, okay? Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the best fighters in the world right now. People love Khabib. Khabib has a black belt in judo, but because his basis is mostly sambo, and he talks about sambo, he doesn't talk about judo that much. Everybody's like, oh, Khabib's a great wrestler, a great sambo guy. Well, he's actually also a great judo guy. He has a black belt in judo. There's videos online of him training judo, but they're not going to say, oh, it's a great judo throw right there. The only time they're going to say it's a great judo throw is that the person says that's their base. That's what they do. Like Ronda Rousey, Kayla Harrison, you know, Hector Lombard and stuff back in the day when he used to use judo in his fights before he got into love and boxing, you know.
Oh, those ashigurumas that he did was beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
You know, or like Akiyama. Akiyama used to get great throws back in the day till he fell in love with his kicks and hands and stuff. And even in the UFC, he used some great foot sweeps on people. Which, if you do a foot sweep on somebody, you do an ashiwaza, again, the announcers will be like, oh, it's a great foot sweep, but they're not going to say it's a judo foot sweep.
They don't even call it a sweep, but most of the time they call it a leg trip.
A leg trip or something, you know. So it's a weird thing because judo's in MMA all the time. You see people go for head and arm throws, headlock throws and stuff that we would call, koshiguruma, haraigoshi. But because it's not called judo, and especially you'll see judo people fight in MMA, do a throw, and then they don't say, oh, they're doing great newaza technique right there. They'll immediately go into jiu-jitsu. They'll say his BJJ, and I hate hearing jujitsu because it just makes you think of guys in black hakumas and white gi tops, and it's like that's when I still say jujitsu. That's what I think of. I'm like, there's no hakumas in there.
Well, back in the day, jujitsu was like kind of saying kung fu, right?
Yeah,
like kung fu was attributed to Chinese martial arts, and then jujitsu was attributed to Japanese martial arts. So, yeah, a lot of people will be like, oh, this famous guy in history did jiu-jitsu, like BJJ. He must have learned BJJ, right? Or Japanese jiu-jitsu or something. But most of the time it's actually judo. They just use that term interchangeably. But
well, I've seen that happen when people come to the dojo, or I've been in other gyms and stuff where someone will say, oh, I did jiu-jitsu. And immediately people think, oh, actually it happened at our own gym. There's a very funny story about it. I'm not going to name any names. But a guy came in that did traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu.
He actually teaches next door now. So
came in, and one of the guys thought that he was a BJJ guy, threw the crap out of him, and was like, oh, well, let's do some newaza stuff. And he's like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Let's do some newaza stuff. It's like, I thought you said a jiu-jitsu guy. I was like, yeah, I do blah, blah, blah jiu-jitsu.
Something jiu-jitsu, yeah.
I thought you did BJJ or Gracie jiu-jitsu. Like, I would have said Gracie or BJJ if I did that.
It is confusing a little bit, but
martial arts stuff gets real confusing sometimes.
So I think when you look at people, like, let's say a punch or like a strike, right? Let's just say a jab cross hook combo. People don't tend to differentiate saying like, oh, that's a Muay Thai boxing style, or well, they look at the guard, right? The guard is how they differentiate, but they don't look at the strike itself and say this is boxing, this is Muay Thai, this is Lethwei, or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, that's like a little pet peeve of mine is where a karate guy, you'll have like Wonder Boy or Lyoto Machida doing a front kick, or even George St. Pierre do a front kick, doing a traditional karate front kick, not toes pulled back, ball of the foot going into the person's gut, a front kick, and then announcer go, that's an amazing teat right there. That's a fantastic teat. It's like, that's not a teat, bro. A teat is a push kick. It's totally different. But because everyone does Muay Thai or maybe Dutch kickboxing, American style kickboxing, they're not going to say front kick, even if it is like putting the ball of foot just right in the guy's gut right there to get that front kick power into him. They'd be like, oh, amazing teat. Nah, man, it's not a teat. Sorry.
I think the teeps are underused in MMA, but I don't train MMA, so maybe there's a reason for it. But I see it when it is used, it's really effective in pushing distance, keeping
because it's a push kick. You're getting distance from a guy, and you really you don't see a lot. They call them all the time. They'll say they're teats, but they're really not. They're just front kicks. A lot of people,
if you hit the right spot, you knock the wind out of someone too. So
yeah,
I love teeps. They're one of my favorite striking techniques. But yeah, so I think basically most MMA fans out there don't train or are casual, or so they like to classify it based off of things that are very easy to notice. But like we were saying, like the throw itself doesn't make it judo, right? Because you still see it in other grappling sports.
Many throws. There's many throws. There's many throws in many different martial arts.
So for me, if you remove the do way, like the martial aspect of like the mutual benefit and minimum effort, all that kind of stuff from judo, I think what makes a technique judo in MMA or whatever is exploiting someone's kazushi, like their movement, their off balancing, their structural weaknesses, their posture, like exploiting that and getting a feel for it. That's what I think makes it judo. So if I see someone do a leg sweep or something in MMA, I don't automatically call it like, oh, that's a judo technique. Like, especially if they power their way through it, like they just really like kick their way through a leg sweep. I don't, to me, that's not judo, like any strong person can do that's never trained any sort of grappling can probably do that if they're strong enough on a small enough person. So that's my
remember, they're supposed to be similar size and height and weight in MMA, so weight categories.
But when you see them like break their posture down, force them to move, and then just like sweep their legs off of them, that's when you're like, oh, that's judo. That guy probably trained judo before. So
did a little judo, or maybe their Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach did a little bit of judo, because you get a lot of that where you have a friend of mine that I work out with right now. He's a judo brown belt, but a BJJ black belt. And I know when he teaches, he tells me he mixes stuff together. And I try to help him out with try to sharpen things up that he's teaching to people. Because what happens that I see is that, as you see this in MMA all the time, I always go with Harai Goshi. Okay, Harai Goshi is a great throw. But if you get taught by the wrong person Harai Goshi, you're going to try to sweep the leg right at the knee. And what's going to happen, you're going to slide your leg up, you're going to end up at the hip, and you're not going to throw the person. There's a little trick with Harai Goshi, and this is how I do, is the way I teach. I aim right down by the ankle pretty much, because as I'm throwing and lifting the person up, my leg's going to hook onto the bottom of their knee. They're going to hook onto that part, and that's what sweeps them over. And that's why you see people, they'll learn that technique from somebody that doesn't exactly know it. They don't go to a judo school. They're not going to sambo schools and teach them exactly how to do it. Someone learned it at a seminar or saw it. It's like, oh, I can do that. But you have to learn how to do things correctly. So when you put judo into MMA, it can be effective. It can work. It just, you have to know what you're doing. And I hate to say, you have to be taught by the right person, but you're taught by somebody that knows what they're doing,
Yeah. Well, one of the, I mean, I don't blame people for not training judo for MMA, because you get a lot more training partners if you go the wrestling route or jiu-jitsu route versus going the judo route. Like how many, we already talked about how not enough people are doing judo here, especially older people, right? So if I had to pick, I'd probably pick, like if my career was on the line, but like my livelihood is based upon it, I'd probably pick wrestling or jiu-jitsu too, because of the amount of training partners I have available for me.
And it's also like judo places don't do a lot of no-gi judo. I know I like to do it sometimes. Like I'll play around with people, I'll teach stuff sometimes, but even at our dojo, like it's always gi. We don't have like a no gi day or a no gi
We
class.
do it
or
after class sometimes.
yeah, I said after class, but that's like a few people like want to work on some no gi stuff, and we'll go over it. Well, this is how you get the underhook here, you get an overhook here, or you get wrist control here, get around the head there, and I'll teach it and show it. But I don't have like a whole class time to do it. And if you did, that would have to be, I think, at an MMA school.
Yeah,
that would be like, well, okay, we're gonna have a no-gi class today, guys. And I'm not talking about no-gi BJJ. I'm talking about no-gi judo class.
yeah.
You know,
But
I think judo can be. But what'd you say?
Oh, in the end, I think if you cross train enough sports and arts, you kind of see overlaps. Like wrestling, jujitsu, they all talk about posture control. Whether it's like on the floor, standing up, they talk about posture, getting people's balance off their base, their hips, their center, like they're getting their hips moving or getting your hips moving. And there's only so many ways that you can move the human body. So,
hey, yeah. Bruce Lee used to say that, like, there's only so many ways you can move the body and only so many ways you can fight. Everyone has 2 arms and 2 legs. Okay, we're not fighting aliens here or people with like 5 arms or anything, or 6 arms. So, but yeah, I think judo's used in MMA all the time. It's maybe not looked and seen as judo unless you're a judo person or judo player. And I think judo is very effective in MMA when used correctly. But it does always come down to the thing of like, you have to learn it that way. You have to be taught that way. And most judo clubs don't. That's the thing that sucks about it. It doesn't.
So you train catch too, right? So
yeah.
How would you identify a catch wrestling move then? Because I was listening to Raul's podcast, and he would always say like, oh, people say this is catch, that's catch, but they're all that's not catch. But I don't think I've ever heard him explain like what is catch.
So if people don't know, I'm a member of Catch Wrestling Alliance. That's and my instructor is Raul. I don't know what Raul's last name is on top of my head, actually, but you can find him on just Raul. You can find him on Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. You just look up Catch Wrestling Alliance, and he's a guy I've been training with for maybe 2.5 years now. And I started doing catch wrestling because I wanted to broaden my grappling styles. Like I've been doing specific judo for like close to 15 years now. Like I would go train at other clubs for fun. Like I would go to a BJJ club and stuff. And that's pretty much it for the most part. But I wanted to add something, do something different. And I came across catch wrestling. People don't know, it was catchers catch can wrestling, old school British wrestling, which became American catch wrestling as well, which became what we call a freestyle and folk style. And when it became freestyle and folk style, which you know is Olympic wrestling, it's basically the same thing, except they took out all the submissions. They took out the arm bars, the heel hooks, the knee bars, the chokes, what they call it, kimuras or jujikatames, udikatames, Americanas, face crank. Well, you can actually still do a face crank in wrestling, just have a secret about it. But so when people talk about catch wrestling, it is, think of Olympic style freestyle wrestling or folk style wrestling or Greco wrestling. It's all that wrestling right there, except you have submissions, and they're what's called unorthodox submissions because of stuff that people aren't used to seeing anymore. You know, people aren't used to getting double legged and immediately going to a heel hook, or double leg and immediately going into an arm bar, or instead of just a pain submission, what we call geskatame or scarf holding in BJJ, they would call it scarf hold. Even wrestling is so called like a scarf hold, but in wrestling it's more called a hand and arm position. Just holding the arm and cranking the neck up right there, putting pressure in my body.
I saw in UFC the other day.
Yeah, you saw the Spanish guy do it, you know?
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, that doesn't work. No, dude. When that's done right, oh, that hurt. I've had someone do that to me before, and I swear I grew an inch in my neck, okay? Because I heard somebody pops in my vertebrae. I was like, pop, like, oh, I think I'm about tall.
For me, I one time I felt in my neck, and another time I felt like my diaphragm was getting crushed. So it's
but it's just different types of, it's like pressure and unorthodox stuff that people aren't used to, because most people, they're used to BJJ submissions, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu submissions. They're used to not wrestling submissions, because technically not supposed to be in wrestling submissions. They're used to judo submissions. In judo, we have arm bar, we have kimura, we have chokes and pins. It's very straightforward for us. We have some main ones right there. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has all these different weird things around the body and stuff you can use to gi. Sambo, you get the big leg locks, the big heel hooks in there. It's a big lower body things. But in catch, you have all that and crazier things, because I'm just trying to make you submit for anything that causes pain.
just look at Sakuraba's Instagram.
Yeah, you know, just anything that's causing pain. A good crossface right across the face, like how Khabib beat the Mega Man Connor, yeah. Khabib Nurmagomedov beat Connor was basically there's a crossface.
People are giving him shit for tapping. I'm like, you have someone do that to you and you
get crossface. Oh my god, it was an old school wrestling thing that I was taught in middle school. Yeah, I was in middle school. I was taught it. So in wrestling, if I go for a crossface and I want to get around the person to pick them up a little bit, I come a crossface and I pick up their nose. So imagine having my bone right here coming across your face and now coming up on your nose. It is so painful. Okay, and people will in traditional wrestling nowadays, you can't tap. You can't be like, oh man, I'm hurt. All you can do is give up the pin. But in catch wrestling, if I do that to you, you tap. You be like, I'm done. Okay. Yeah. But that's what I like about catch wrestling. Maybe you have roll on sometime.
So how do you identify catch then versus all the other moves that you see in MMA? Like what would you have to see in MMA for you to go like that is catch wrestling?
For me, it's be unorthodox leg techniques or arm techniques. Because if you see someone do a kimura, no matter if it's a catch wrestling double wrist grab or a key lock, everyone's gonna say it's a kimura. They're not gonna say it's an udikatame. They're gonna say it's kimura. All right. Mm-hmm. If you see an arm bar, they're not gonna say the catch arm bar or judo arm bar. They're gonna say no, it's just an arm bar. You know, it's in all things. But if I get you down the ground and I get you an unorthodox heel hook or a knee bar or an Achilles tendon lock, they'll be like, that's catch right there. And even with the Spanish guy that won 2 weeks ago, using the scarf hold of Keskatame, they'll be like, oh, it's wrestling right there. He had him in a head and arm position, just popped them up right there. But that's catch to me because that is a wrestling technique. And wrestling is just the modern day evolution of what catch wrestling was. That's what it is.
That's interesting that you say. I don't know. I feel like it's such an inferior answer that I'm kind of like, I wouldn't be able to tell even after you described that because leg locks is a huge part of jiu-jitsu now in
that's another that's the thing. Like I had friends that do jiu-jitsu. I'll ask them about leg locks. Oh, well, if you go to the IBJ, and I'm not sure, I don't know. Okay. I don't know the federation stuff, but there's certain jiu-jitsu federations, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Gracie jiu-jitsu, whatever, that do not allow leg locks. It's only an advanced technique.
So it's by belt.
Is it by belt? Okay.
Yeah, I think if you're a white belt, again, there's different tournaments, right? So if you're a white belt, you can only do straight ankle locks, I think. And then blue belt, you can start doing heel hooks and maybe toe holds, I think. Toe holds is like a kimura around your ankle.
Hey, I've seen those videos on YouTube where guys will be like, this is an advanced technique. It wasn't a toe hold. It was a heel hook. And unless the person knows what's going on and is proficient in those techniques, they're going to know the difference. They're going to know what a toe hold is.
And
go ahead.
A lot of tournaments ban reaping the knee, but I think some of them, if you're a black belt, they allow it. Basically, if your leg goes on the other side of the person, you're reaping the knee. So some of them allows that, but like when you tell me catch wrestling, I would think of like calf slicers and stuff like that. Like that's unorthodox to me, right?
Another great thing, calf slicers right there, bicep slicers from other directions. Technically, everyone gives. I know I'm gonna get some shit for it, maybe, but 10th Planet, made the whole the twister very famous and stuff. But that's an old wrestling technique.
I think of that as catch wrestling too. So
see, I learned that when I was like in high school, and it was called a barbed wire pin. I've heard it called a row stem pin also, because your arms are all flailed out, like you're wrapped up in barbed wire. And in wrestling, that's a pin, because if I get the arm behind me and my arm is around your head, I'm pulling you down, your shoulders are on the mat. It's a very painful submission. And that can be done one of two ways. The one way that everybody sees it in MMA now, where the person's shoulders are on the mat. And it's actually a reversal way to do it also if the person's belly down. And it's even meaner in my opinion, because they have nowhere to go. They have to tap from it. So imagine that position now, the person's belly down, and I'm now pulling your arm up in the air while I'm coming around your neck. Like I'm just stretching the side of you out. Like that's a catch wrestling technique right there. But it's also a wrestling technique.
Okay, we'll have to ask Raul for. Yeah, I just don't think you're good at explaining, man.
I'm not. I don't think I am. Let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think?
Basically, what I got out of it is if I see a twister, a calf slicer, or a bicep slicer, then that's catch wrestling. Which I know probably is the wrong answer, but
that's a great answer. All right, so back to our main thing of talking about like judo MMA and stuff. I think judo MMA is very effective. I think it's a great thing to add to your arsenal, and I think judo can be effective as your base. Shown by Ronda Rousey, shown by Kayla Harrison, shown by the old greats like
Gene LaBelle.
Yeah, Gene LaBelle and stuff. Amazing, using judo as a base. So, but yeah, so I think that's it for today's podcast. And now we ranted about a bunch of things. Had some fun talking. If anybody has any questions, want to refer us to anything, talk about anything, let us know. Leave it in the comment section down below. You can email us. You can follow me at the Jerry_Juan on Instagram. You can follow Anthony at Anthony Throws on Instagram. You can also let us tell us things on there if you want, send some message. If you're looking for some interesting judo workouts, I also post judo workouts on my Instagram for right now, since you can't work out with people that much. Unless you wear a mask, which I recommend, and doing it outside. Anything else you want to add, Anthony?
No, stay safe out there, and hopefully, well, at least we're getting some judo tournaments back to watch. Even though it's hard to find a place to live stream those judo tournaments right now. Another thing that judo can do better, I can find sumo wrestling easier than judo.
It's on NHK. It's on a major broadcast channel. Okay, that's why it's easier.
It's just sumo is such a niche sport, more so than judo, that I think it's ridiculous that it's so hard to find judo tournaments to watch. Anyway,
all right,
yeah, so that's
another episode.
All right, talk to you guys later.
All right, bye. Peace out.
Bye.